Hello and welcome back to the All Out Brits podcast, the podcast where we send the house on all things NFL for the comfort of our lovely homes here in wonderful, wonderful Britain. As somebody is already in the festive spirit, as you can see. Now, you might notice that we had our very own bye week last week in week 13, but with the Cowboys losing, the Niners winning, of course, we had to come back and talk about it all. But this week 14, wow, what a few games we saw this week. We've seen divisions clinched, we've seen people knocked out of contention, and we've seen a lot of drama. And of course, it's only going to get better from here. But as always, to talk about the good, bad, and the ugly is the ugly man himself, Mr. Elliot Greenwood. How you doing, my friend? I feel like I haven't seen you in a long time, and my heart hasn't coped very well with it.
It hasn't, mate, but that's called angina. You need to move a little bit more. Right, I'm feeling festive. I'm feeling good. We've got the Christmas tree up. We've got it in Dallas Cowboy blue as well, the baubles, mate.
Yeah.
We're all feeling festive. We're feeling Christmassy. And lots of teams come into Arlington, Texas, and they take W's with them. It's the season of giving. The Dallas Cowboys love giving wins to the opposition. So Jerry Jones is feeling festive. I'm feeling festive. And you soon, sir, will be feeling festive as we kind of go on this journey through the NFL in week 13 and 14. Let's go, mate.
Now, let's kick off. And I want to say a big thank you to three men. One being the man that provided you that wonderful Christmas tree behind you there. What a wonderful man. The other being Mr. Joshua Allen, a newly fiancéed man. We won't know how we feel about that until later on in the podcast. And the other is Mr. Matthew Stafford, because what a game of football they prided us with. I don't think we had this one down to be a shootout, but wow, people got murdered, people got shot. And I tell you what, one team was very much happy by the end of it. What did you make of this absolutely crazy game, mate?
It was a classic matchup, mate. It was a West Side versus East Side matchup. It was Buffalo from the team from the East Side, the team from New York, facing off against the West Side rivals in the Los Angeles Rams. And the Bills got rammed by the Rams in the end. And I think for me, when you look at kind of those star players, they all showed up. We had the three wise men on each side, didn't we? We had big Matt Stafford, we had Cooper Kupp, and we also had Puka Nacua showing out for big points, big money points. This was the first time in NFL history, Taron, that both teams scored over 40 points and there wasn't a turnover in the game. Okay, this is history. It was incredible. It was like when Jesus was born in the manger. Okay, it was just something incredible. Okay, James Cook, I'm going to look at you now. 4 points. Why? Why?
6 carries is crazy.
But in a game that's a shootout, you don't expect your running back to get much of the ball. But maybe you're expecting to kind of benefit more in the backfield. I think that was something that may have been missing for Josh Allen. That little bit extra, that little bit something, that little bit turn of pace. Maybe that's what would have pushed him over the line. It was a game for defenses to forget, but offenses went crazy, sir. How did you think of that game? And obviously, Matt Stafford balling out.
I mean, when you've got a quarterback that's got 6 touchdowns to his name, 3 with his hands and 3 with his legs, you'd almost think that this game was an absolute mauling, but it was the complete opposite. And I think it was 2 very, very different quarterback styles. You've got Josh Allen, the main man, who, yes, he gets the ball around, but he's the man, the playmaker that does it all himself. He relies on himself and his abilities to carry that Buffalo team forward. And then we've got the other hand, Mr. Matthew Stafford, the man that was traded away to become the centerpiece of this franchise, and he did his wonderful job before, but they seem to be coming back now. And I think the sad thing is this Rams team could have had a really, really good season had they not been so unlucky with the injuries that they've had. But when they haven't got injuries, when they've got their star players, wow, do they deliver? I mean, Puka Nacua, unbelievable pickup in last year's draft. Ridiculous. Cooper Kupp still proving why he's one of the best wide receivers in the league. And again, Wan'Dale Robinson having an unbelievable game. Just there's so many different people in that offense that just perform so well for the Rams. And that's what you need. What was so good to see was the blocked punt as well. I mean, crazy stuff, absolutely crazy stuff. I think what's amazing to see about that Rams team is, again, we thought they just traded it all away. We thought they just busted to get that one single Super Bowl. But it looks like Sean McVay's he's cooking. He's still got it all there, which is very, very impressive to see.
I think the thing about that Rams team is they are so hit and miss, like you say.
Yeah.
In terms of those kind of key pieces since that Super Bowl winning season,
Mhm.
they haven't really changed much. Obviously, they've
No.
lost some massive players on defense. They've lost Aaron Donald,
Mhm.
and obviously Ramsey has gone in the secondary as well. But when you look at that offensive line is very, very similar.
Yeah.
Obviously losing kind of one of the veterans centers wasn't the move that they wanted to make. Um, but I just think on the whole, they've got the pieces there. And next year, if they invest well in the draft,
Yeah.
kind of invest in that defense, because I think that's where they have really, really struggled this season.
Mhm.
Maybe another acquisition on the offensive line as well, just to support Matt Stafford, keeping him clean for a little bit longer. Then there's a chance that they could push for playoffs next season.
100%. And that win made it very, very interesting in the NFC West. And another game which made the NFC West even more interesting was the divisional clash between the Seahawks and between the Cardinals as well. Now, again, the Cardinals started this season very, very well. Everyone said, oh, this team have got a little bit about them. We saw Trey McBride probably starting a little bit slow, but we saw Mr. Marvin Harrison Jr. have an absolute field day. Kyler Murray, he put down the Xbox controller and learned how to throw a football again. And Geno Smith started well, had a stinker, but now, out of nowhere, this Seahawks team has come back around without Pete Carroll, and they are coming and looking like they could be winners of the NFC West. What a crazy, crazy game in that one. And what do you make of this Seahawks team at the moment?
Geno Smith, obviously, like you mentioned, he's playing for a contract at the moment. He's playing for
Yeah.
a contract extension. I think this is the season where now, and at the business end of the season, this is
Mhm.
where Geno Smith is going to earn his money. Okay, and he's had help from his running game. Had so
Yeah.
much help. I think Chardonnay had like 21
Yeah.
points in the first fantasy points in the first half, looking unbelievable
Mhm.
on the ground for the Seahawks. On the flip side, though, Arizona. Kyler Murray, still an exciting quarterback, still kind of got that wide receiver one in the kind of locked down, really, haven't they,
Yeah.
with Marvin Harrison Jr. But they need to find a way to get him involved a little bit more.
Mhm.
I think at the start of the season, they were kind of, for whatever reason, trying to pass the ball to the other receivers who were obviously those veteran players. When you draft a guy that high up in the draft,
Yeah.
a wide receiver, a playmaker, I would have expected him to make a little bit more of an impact than he has.
Mhm.
You look at the impact that Malik Neighbors has had
Yeah.
over in New York. The separation that he gets is incredible. Marvin Harrison Jr. isn't that sort of wide receiver, but he was the number one ranked wide receiver for a reason. Okay,
Yeah.
he's a big playmaker. He's a big X guy, and he hasn't had the opportunity to do that this season. I think
Mhm.
that's really something that the Cardinals need to do going forward if they are going to push for the playoffs this season.
100%. And normally you expect Santa to be delivering his gifts to the elves to do all the hard work. But in Arizona, it's the elf delivering it to Santa to get the job done. And I tell you what, it's probably having a bit of an impact. I mean, the other one that's been a big, big sort of focal point has been James Conner. I mean, on the ground, he's been very important, but also in the pass game as well. He's had just as many targets as Mr. Marvin Harrison Jr. had. I mean, I know you like, playing it to your running back and them being the playmakers. When you got wide receiver, like you said, that's very, very talented, you got to get that bad boy the ball as well. And I think Trey McBride, he seems like he gets the ball up until the red zone and they go, nah, forget him. He's done his job now. Do you think that next year, looking forward to next year, most likely now for the Cardinals, that is what they need to focus on, is getting this offense a little bit more gelled and making it so that people get involved a lot more?
I think so, yeah. I think that's what
Yeah.
really they need to look at is scheming, okay? Because when you,
Mhm.
especially going back to Trey McBride, when you're in the red zone, you want your big targets to get the ball. You want
Yeah.
your big body playmakers to get it. Why aren't you throwing it to your tight end in those tight
Mhm.
windows to kind of hold on to the ball and just stand there and deliver, okay? Because
Yeah.
that's what he can do. Kyler Murray has shown that he's a fantastic quarterback this year. He's also incredibly mobile um,
Mhm.
with his legs. Why aren't they utilizing that a little bit more?
Yeah.
I think there's so many questions. I think for me, James Conner isn't a good enough running back, I
Yeah.
must say. He was kind of discarded from the Steelers when he left Pittsburgh. And
Mhm.
obviously, you look at the running back that they've got now in Najee Harris, who's kind of a different class, a step above. But for me, James Conner just isn't all that. I think he gives you something as an RB2, but as an RB1, I don't think it gives you
Yeah.
enough. I think he's fresh as a rotation back. Absolutely crack on. But as an RB1, I think he needs a little bit more rest to utilize his explosiveness. That also then frees up Marvin Harrison Jr. a little bit more.
Yeah.
How you cannot get that man the ball, I do not know. He's been
Mhm.
incredible. He's made some incredible catches, and he's really, really shown why he's
Yeah.
such had so much hype coming out of college.
Mhm.
But unfortunately, the scheming hasn't been right for me this season, and I think that's something that they have to look at in the off season and address kind of those issues in the draft as well.
And I think going from one wide receiver that had no targets to another one in Mr. Tyler Lockett on the other side of the field, no targets, no receptions, because Mr. Jackson Smith and Jigba has taken over. In the absence of DK, he's taken over. And now with DK back, he's still having an unbelievable job. I mean, what an amazing season it's been for him. Last year, I think he really didn't have sort of the breakout season we expected, but now we're seeing it, especially considering how well the rookies were last year. Do you reckon this is probably earing out to the fact that Mr. Smith and Jigba could be the new wide receiver one in the near future?
Potentially, I think for me, he strikes me as very much a T. Higgins sort of player, and the role that T. Higgins has alongside Jamar Chase. I think DK Metcalf on his day is one of the best receivers in the league. He's so big, he's so strong, he's so powerful, and I think for me to have him as a wide receiver is such a fantastic thing for a quarterback. But then in the slot to have JSN, kind of making a man miss, making those kind of big time plays happen, and even over the top, we know he's got space. We know he's got speed. We know that he can get a lot of space and separation from the defenders. And he showed it this game: 5 catches, 82 yards. We need to see more of that going forward from him. But he has had a fantastic season, no shot of a doubt. JSN will be there to stay in Seattle, but for me, it will be as wide receiver 2 alongside DK Metcalf. But again, he's been up and down with injuries this season. Been very, very hit and miss. And when he has been playing, sometimes he has lost his head a little bit. So I think there is the chance, like you say, for JSN to have a bigger role in the offense. But I think for me, he complements as a wide receiver 2 better than he does a wide receiver 1.
100%. And how far do you think he's going to help this Seahawks team go in the postseason? Because I think they're pretty much near guaranteed to be there, barring some acts of God along the way, I think.
I think as long as he can kind of continue to get that separation, continue to show his speed, and I think they have to use him in the slot a little bit more. I think when you do give him the ball in space, he can make defenders miss. He can make big plays happen. Again, I think Geno Smith has been fantastic this season in parts, but that's always been as a complement to the running game. Get the running game going, get the play action going. That's when you're going to get the space for JSN on the outside. That's the way that the Seahawks win football games going forward.
And I tell you what, we sound like we know what we're doing there. That's unbelievable. Well done, mate. Very impressed by that.
Mate.
But a franchise that clearly knows what they're doing, unfortunately for some, is the Kansas City Chiefs. And with a win against the Chargers, they clinch the division, become the second longest team to be winning their division. I think it was 9 years in a row, which is pretty impressive. Any guesses who's number one franchise?
Is it the San Francisco 49ers?
It's not, mate. It's the Patriots. Come on.
Oh,
that's shocking from you.
Man. That is
shocking from you.
How many seasons did they do 9 as well?
I think it was like
16.
Over 15. It was close.
Yeah, I think it was 16.
Yeah, stupid amount.
They had a season where they went 20-0, mate, as well. Can I just say?
Well, that's why everyone still wears the Patriots jumpers, and that's why we might have a Brady jumper in the back. But we'll let it slide again.
12, man. Absolute player.
But Chargers, Chiefs to clinch the division. The Chargers, again, they've had a very interesting season. The last few weeks have struggled. Justin Herbert went from being number 1 QB to kind of struggling to find his targets. Lad McConkey had some unbelievable games. Didn't see the ball this week. But
do you know why he didn't see the ball?
Why did he not see the ball, mate?
Right, because he's put on IR. All right.
I know, mate. Let me, Mr. Greenwood. You need to let me finish. Now you've just ruined the flow of the podcast.
Go on.
It's too late now. Right, moron. Go on. Tell us why they lost that game then.
Because Lad McConkey was put on IR because he didn't play. All right. We know how good he's been this season, and we know how good he's been for my fantasy team this season. All right. I go to bed, Taron. I go to bed, and he's in my fantasy lineup. I'm seeing in the chat, it's a game day decision. It's a game day decision. Will he play? Will he not? It's going to be a game time decision. I'm thinking, they're going to play him. They need to play him. I guess the Chiefs are going to play him. Come on, man. I guess the Chiefs have got to play him. So I'll leave Darnell Mooney on the bench. All right. 20 points on the bench there. 0 in my starting lineup. Losing by 14. It hurts, but not as much as this loss hurts for the NFL and hurts for all fans of football. The Kansas City Chiefs are not a good football team. They are not a good football team. They have fluked wins by inches, by bad calls, by blocked field goals, by mystic magic, okay? All right, by mystic stuff, that by awful things have been happening off the field for what's been going on the field, okay? There's been some voodoo shit going on, mate. All right? the Kansas City Chiefs, for me, will lose in the first game of the playoffs. Okay? And that's because they're not good. Patrick Mahomes hasn't been good this season. Yes, he's excellent. Yes, he's superb. But he's just not that guy this season, okay? The rushing attack has not been there for the most part of the season.
Yeah.
The passing game, like we've said, has been shocking. One thing I would say, why were the Chiefs fans shouting the refs suck? That is the most hypocritical thing ever,
It is.
Tarrant. All right? Ever. What did you make of that game? What did you make of the fans? And how did the Chiefs go moving forward?
I think it's a typical thing of, not remembering who got you to where you are. The refs have done a lot of hard work. They're putting a lot of hours to help the Chiefs get to where they are this season. To turn on them when they've achieved what they have, it's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. We don't do that here in England. So what if the referees over here call your managers and call your teams bad names? We don't turn on them. No. So what if they message minors and sniff things? No. We stick with them. And then we sack them towards the end of the season. Not what they're doing now is shaming and having a go at their top players. This is disgusting by the Chiefs. And typical, they still come away with a win.
Silly, mate. And I have actually heard that the new lead NFL referee is going to be a man called David Coote. So we'll see how that goes moving forward. We'll see how he goes. I'm sure he will be on the Kansas City Chiefs payroll, just
sure
like every other referee in the league.
Yeah.
I think for me, the Chargers, though, they just look like an exciting team. I know they lost this week.
Yeah.
I love Justin Herbert. I think he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. He's such an elite passer. And he looks about 14 as well. He's the most pubescent quarterback this league has ever seen. All right. He's got a face like a road built by the council, mate. Right, put it that way. He is just up and down all the time with his passing attack. But what he is, he's fantastic. Okay, and I think Harbaugh's got the best out of him. Absolutely got the best out of him. Still needs a receiver outside of Ladd McConkey, because Ladd McConkey, fantastic in the slot. He looks like he's going to play that Larry Fitz role. He looks like he's going to kind of complement like a Tyler Lockett. Sort of play like a Cole Beasley back in the day. Those elite slot receivers in the league, he's one of them now, even though he's in his rookie season. I can see him going the way of Cooper Kupp as well, actually, where he's a little bit of a smaller guy, but if he can get in the ball in space, get in the ball with a bit of separation, he's going to go far. If he's back next week, the Chargers have nothing to worry about, okay? But if they have to rely on Quentin Johnson for the rest of the season, then my God, I will be panicking if I'm a Chargers fan.
And I think for the Chargers as well, like you said, Justin Herbert's been unbelievable. I think he's, again, on one of the longest runs of no turnovers, no interceptions. And so that's pretty impressive for a quarterback, again, who throws as much as he does. And like you said, doesn't have those elite receivers that, so many of the quarterbacks in the league do. And so 100% Harbaugh has done an amazing job coming in first season. I'm really excited, same as you, next year to see how they deliver. And hopefully they topple the Chiefs dynasty in that division, because we got a bit of Chiefs hate on this podcast, to say the very, very least.
I think it's coming though, mate. I really do think it's coming. Dynasties are there to be failed. What's the saying? All dynasties must come to an end. That's what Eric Ten Hag said when he came into the Man United job. Okay, didn't happen in England, thankfully, but I think it's going to happen in America, and it's going to happen in that AFC West division.
Hopefully so. And I think we almost saw the podcast crumble a few weeks ago when the 49ers went on a losing streak. But of course, again, this podcast only works when the Niners win. And so let's talk about it before we finish off here. The Cowboys, a very, very good game. I'll tell you what, I was chuffed when I saw Homer Simpson as your quarterback, because he probably did a better job than most of the people in your team. And then when you got Bart catching touchdown passes and Wiggins getting spunked, you know what I mean? Impressive. Big fan of that.
We're the only team ever to lose a walk-off touchdown to Lisa Simpson. All right,
Humbling.
team ever. Only the Dallas Cowboys could lose to Lisa Simpson. Typical, mate. Typical.
But are you happy with the fact that they picked your game to be the Simpsons game? America's team, and probably America's favorite TV show as well.
I don't think the Dallas Cowboys needed any more of a reason to be a joke this season than they have been. It was a bit of fun. I don't think it was as good as the Toy Story one. Toy Story one was a little bit something else, wasn't it?
Yeah, I like that.
I kind of think that's the standard now.
Yeah.
Where would you go next in terms of kind of like a bit of a spoof game? Obviously, we've had Simpsons now. We've had Toy Story. Are we going Lion King? Is there that many characters?
Mate, I think South Park has got to be the way to go.
See, really, I'm leaning more towards Shrek. I
Shrek.
think
I mean,
Shrek.
Shrek's not a bad shout.
You got to think. You got to have those characters. You got to have a big roster of characters.
Mm,
I just
that's
think
very
South
true.
Park. I don't think it fits the mold that the NFL's going for at the moment, but it's a good shout.
I agree. I think seeing Donkey, take the ball off Shrek at QB, and then watching Gingerbread run down the sidelines. I'm a big fan of that. That's a good shout. Very good
I can
shout.
see Puss in Boots in the slot as well.
Puss in Boots in the slot.
He just looks like a bit of a bit of a sneaky guy, a bit of a nifty back, and I can see him doing quite well. But who would you say in terms of defensive cartoon players? Who's your guy? Who do you want in there?
I mean, it's got to be the Dragon. I mean,
Oh,
that it just takes up space. He's a
like,
safety. He's an edge rusher, and he's a corner at the same time. You know what I mean? That's impressive. That you know
all
what I
over
mean?
the field, like JJ Watt, mate, back in the
Mm,
heyday.
that's unbelievable.
Incredible.
Travis Hunter, eat your heart out because we've got the Dragon from Shrek coming for your job.
Absolutely, mate. And let's talk then about the San Francisco 49ers team. A team that has been comical enough this season.
Mm,
Okay. Not comical this week, not the laughing stock of
I
the
know.
league. What went on, mate?
But it's just the Bears, is all I've heard, and it was just the Bears. But we finally found those two things that hang, below ourselves in our ripped, torn underwear. What are they called, Mr. Greenwood?
Bollocks.
Balls, bollocks. That's it. We finally found them, and Shanahan's finally found them. It's only taken him 14 weeks of a season to find them, but he's finally found them. Just how Purdy found Jennings, and he found Kittle, and he found a stud in Garendo. It's finally come together, and it only took our season and our mental health to be crippled to do it. Our defense finally learned. Hit them. Don't look at them. Hit them. You know what I mean? We're just like it's on a night out, mate. Two-man step, and they're just staring at them. You've got to hit them. If you don't hit them hard, they don't want to know. You know what I mean? This is the problem that we've got. But finally, it's been solved. It's not going to last very long. I guarantee it all dissipates come this week in the NFL against the Rams. And beyond that, we've got the Lions too. No doubt that it's a short-term burst. But I'll take it as satisfaction. And it brings me back to the table because I was sold. I was done. I was cut. Did not want anything to do with the NFL.
You were going towards the Texas Longhorns, weren't you? I think you were
I
there.
was.
I think we're still there. I don't think we're far off. College football playoffs starting soon as well. I think it's this week, isn't it? The college football playoff.
Yeah.
We'll have to touch on that in the podcast going forward, mate.
We shall indeed.
I just think for me, Christian McCaffrey on injury reserve, Jordan Mason on injury reserve. I don't even know who your third guy is, mate. Are you just putting Debo there for a laugh? What are you doing?
Mr. Garendo, mate, he had 100 yards this week, but now he's injured again.
You've got the best rushing offensive line in the league, all right?
Mate.
You've turned 3 players into elite running backs for no reason other than the big guys can move another big guy. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Unbelievable, mate.
But that's the only positive because, like I said, he's hurt himself this week and he probably won't play. Just about sums up this night.
Who's Alvin for? Is it Debo? Is it Debo?
What? It probably will be Debo. Yeah. Have you seen Debo had a meltdown on Twitter?
Oh,
he had a meltdown because they said he's not having a good season. He said, "I'm not getting the ball," and someone put in the Twitter notes he has the team leading in dropped passes, and so he's being cooked a little bit on Twitter at the moment. Just to say the very
not
least.
a good look for him.
Not a good look whatsoever. But week 14, mate, it's coming to a very end. It's coming to a very swift end as well. Devastating. There's only. It just feels like yesterday when we started doing these podcasts again. But how have you felt? How have you enjoyed it up to this point?
Well, when we started the season, there was hope, there was optimism, there was joy in my eyes. I'm now absolutely knackered, mate. I'll be honest with you. Absolutely shattered. I come on here chatting absolute waffle all week that 4 people see. And I love it, though. I absolutely love it, okay? 3 of those people are me and you. But yeah, mate, I think, it's been a long old season to this point. Lots of highs, more lows this season, I would say, more lows. But looking, I think there's lots of optimism ahead to next season. I'm looking at a team from college in blue that play on a blue field that have a running back. I'm looking at him and I'm ready for the 2-man step. Do you know what I'm saying?
You're grooming him, mate. You absolutely are grooming him.
I ain't looking, boy. I'm touching. Do you know what I'm saying? Because Boise State running back Aston Jennings is looking unbelievable, and he's looking like he's going to be a Dallas Cowboy. Just keep losing football games. Let's keep losing football games. I'm not bothered about winning. Just put up a show. Few fantasy points for CD Lamb, right? Couple of touchdowns each week for him. Put up the show, and then give me the dough that is running back 1, Aston Jenny.
You've heard it here first, folks. There's some match fixing going on there. Just sounds about right. I think the Giants are doing the same thing as well, to be honest with you. So it must be a divisional thing, to say the very, very least. But we thank you for joining us, guys. As always, we appreciate your love and support. But make sure to like, comment, subscribe on the YouTube, and head over to the TikTok, where you'll be able to see some absolute nonsense being posted every so often as well. And we shall thank you, everybody, for joining us. And we shall see you next time on the All Out Brits podcast.
See you later.
Woohoo. Lovely.
Boom. Good man.